Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open a really unique case file, one that's based on a fascinating theological argument from our source material.
Okay, let's jump right in with the big question our source material puts on the table. What if the long-awaited return of Christ wasn't some far-off future event, but something that's, well, already happened?
So here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with the biblical question that kicked everything off. Then we'll decode the prophetic signs, zero in on the exact year they supposedly point to, reveal the figure who was identified, look at what happened next to the world's leaders, and finally, see where this has all led to today.
All right, first up, our whole investigation really kicks off where the source does, with a question the disciples asked Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew. They wanted to know about the sign of his coming and the end of the world.
Now, this is where it gets super interesting. The source makes a really key distinction here. See, the original Greek word they used wasn't cosmos, which means the physical planet. It was aion, which means an age or an era. That's a huge difference. They weren't asking about the planet exploding, they were asking about the end of an age.
Okay, so if we're talking about the end of an age, not the end of the world, what are the signs we should be looking for? Well, the source material lays them out like clues in a detective story.
And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom.
And right away, the source starts checking things off the list. It points to this incredible period of global conflict leading up to the 19th century. I mean, just look at this list, one more after another, shaking the entire planet. Box 1, checked.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
And that leads us to the next clue. The source points out this absolute explosion of missionary work and Bible printing in the early 1800s. It was so intense, so widespread that people at the time, scholars, newspapers, were actually declaring that this prophecy had been fulfilled, and they were pointing directly to the mid-1840s.
Jerusalem shall be trodden down until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Now here's a really specific piece of the puzzle. It's a political event. The source points out that for centuries, Jerusalem had been under the control of non-Jewish powers, or Gentiles. But then in 1844, the Ottoman Empire issues the Edict of Toleration. This was a game-changer, opening the door for Jews to return, and the source argues this is the exact fulfillment of that prophecy.
Okay, let's get into the numbers. The signs all seem to point to an era, but the source claims the Bible gives us an exact year if you know how to read the code.
And the key to unlocking that date is a concept called the day for a year principle. It's this idea, backed by passages in both Numbers and Ezekiel, that when you're reading prophecy, one prophetic day actually equals one calendar year.
So here's how the math breaks down, according to the source. It's pretty straightforward. You start with the prophet Daniel's 2300-day prophecy. You anchor it to a real historical event, the decree to restore Jerusalem, way back in 457 BC. You calculate those 2300 days as 2300 years, and when you do the math, you land on one single pivotal year.
And that year? 1844. It's pretty wild how the source argues all these different threads, the historical signs, the wars, the edicts, the biblical math. They all point right here to this one moment in time.
Okay, so if 1844 is the year, then who is the person? Who's the prophesied figure? Well, the source claims he showed up, just like the book of Revelation said he would, with a new name.
And I will write upon him my new name.
And that figure, according to our source, is Bahá'u'lláh. His title itself, which translates to the glory of the Lord, is presented as a direct fulfillment of that new name prophecy. And get this, he was imprisoned for nearly 50 years by the Ottoman Empire for making this claim. But during that time, he produced this massive body of scripture, over 100 volumes worth.
Now, even from prison, Bahá'u'lláh wasn't exactly quiet. In fact, he reached out and addressed the most powerful people on the entire planet with a direct and, frankly, a startling summons.
Ye are but vassals, O kings of the earth. He who is the King of kings hath appeared, arrayed in his most wondrous glory, and is summoning you unto himself.
And what happened next is pretty stunning. The source lays out this incredible correlation. Take a look at this. The kings and rulers who got this message, people like Napoleon III in France or the Ottoman Sultan, and who, according to the source, ignored it, well, within a single generation, their thrones were gone, their empires had collapsed.
So that brings this whole investigation right up to today. What's the legacy? What's the lasting result of everything we've just looked at, from the source material? Well, the result is the Bahá'í Faith. It's a worldwide religion today, and its followers are working to build a better world based on these core principles you see here. Ideas like the oneness of all humanity, the equality of men and women, and the harmony between science and religion.
And that's where we'll close our case file. The source presents this really intricate step-by-step argument, connecting all these dots from ancient prophecy to modern history. And it leaves us with a pretty provocative question to chew on. What does it mean if a whole new chapter for humanity has already begun and we're living in it right now?